Today I'm going to show you how to use the FTP feature that has come with the latest firmware update for the A7 III. You can also do this with the A7C, the A7R4, the A9, the A9 II, and the A7S III. Now, I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but I just haven't gotten round to working out how to use the FTP feature until now. Most cameras do come with a way of transferring your photos to your phone, an iPad or a tablet. However, with the Sony app, it transfers the smaller preview files created by the camera, which are tiny. So if you want RAW files or larger Jpegs than this, you do need to know about the FTP feature. Now, I have to say, this was really frustrating to start with. I wasted about half a day trying to get this to work. I've worked out as many of the problems as I could, and I've tried to find the easiest way to do it as possible. So hopefully all the problems that I had, you won't have if you want to use this FTP feature. Basically, it's a way of transferring images from your camera to your phone as you take them or when you select them. It's a little bit less clunky than the app, and you get the full-size images straight to your phone, straight to a tablet, straight to your computer, or any device that you're using and any device that you connect up to. Now, FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. You don't really need to know why it's called that or how it works. I'm going to show you exactly how to set it up with your camera and your phone to make it work for you. And as I've said, I've tried to make this as simple as possible. I've done it for the iPhone and the home Wi-Fi network, and then also HOTSPOT on my Android phone, but you can interchange these two. Now, I'm not going to be using the transfer and tagging add-on app from Sony, as this only allows JPEGs to be transferred. And the way I look at it is that if you're going to transfer files with an FTP server, you might as well have all of the options of RAW and JPEG. For the iPhone, I'll be using the Browse and File Manager app from LS Apps, which you can find in the App Store, or I've also put a link in the description. This is a really clean and easy to use app. Also, if you're going to be transferring RAW files, you need to have plenty of space on the device you're sending them to. And also, you need a good Wi-Fi connection. Like I've already said, I'll be using my home Wi-Fi in the first example with my iPhone, but if you're out and about and have that personal hotspot function on your phone or tablet, you can connect with this. And that is a really good way of doing it. I'll be showing you how to set it up with a personal hotspot a bit later on my Android phone. So if you want to skip to that, just scroll through the YouTube's timeline along the bottom. You should find the label personal hotspot, or click on the timecode in the description. So back to the iPhone. Once you've downloaded the Browse and File Manager app, open it up and go into the settings of this app. Scroll down to Wi-Fi transfer where they have the FTP sharing. Click on Sharing Settings and click the Enable switch. Put in a username and a password. I've put in FTP123 for now, but you should put in something that no one else could potentially guess. You probably want to make it a little bit more secure than this. Next, come back out of that and switch on FTP sharing. Under this, you have your FTP settings, which you will need in a bit. Either note these down or keep this screen open on your phone. Make sure your phone is connected to the Wi-Fi you're going to use as a connection to send the files through. As I said, I'm using my home network for this one, so I'll make sure my mobile is connected to my home Wi-Fi. And I can see it's connected to Becky and Mike 2.4G. So in your camera, I'm using the A7 III in this example, but all menus will be fairly similar. But make sure you have control with smartphone switched off. This is in tab 3, page 1 of 3. Then go to tab 3, page 2 of 3, and click on Wi-Fi settings, and then select access point set. Once that same Wi-Fi appears in the list that your phone is connected to, select it and put in the password for this Wi-Fi network. Once it's found it, it will come to this screen. I leave IP address setting to auto, and if it's a Wi-Fi I'll be using a lot, I'll set priority connection to on. Then click on OK, and once it's registered, click OK again. You do need to make sure you have a good signal, because this does tend to drop out if the Wi-Fi gets weak. Where I live, there's lots of Wi-Fi signals about competing for space, and it does sometimes lose the signal, especially in my office. Next, go to FTP transfer function in tab 3, 1 of 3. In this function, go right to page 3, and here you can decide which files you will transfer. I'm going to switch on automatic transfer for now. I'll set it to RAW and JPEG, and I'll keep FTP power saving off. This will transfer every image I take and will send over a RAW and a JPEG. Now you need to decide what you'll be sending across to your device. If you take a lot of images, I'd just set this to JPEG. But if you're only taking a few, you can get either RAW or JPEG or both. This is up to you, but this is the page where you'll tell the camera what to send. When you do have just JPEG selected, it doesn't take as long to transfer the files, and you can edit them with free programs like Snapseed. If you do send RAW files, they'll take a while longer because they are bigger, and you will need to edit them in, say, Lightroom or Darkroom or any app that allows you to edit RAW files. Next, you want to switch back to page 1 in FTP transfer function in your camera, select server setting and select server 1. If you intend on using a few different FTP connections, you'll need to label the server so you know which one is which. So I'll change this first one to iPhone for this example. Next, with the destination settings, the host name is basically the IP address in the app on the phone, the one that was listed in the app under the Wi-Fi transfer settings. For me, it's 192.168.1.104. Basically all the numbers after those 2 slashes up to the colon. I'll leave secure protocol off, then the port is the number after that colon in the app. For me, this is 2121. Then click OK. Next, select directory settings. This is what the name of the file in the app on your phone will be. I'll just call this A73 for now, but you can call it what you want. Then I will change same file name to does not overwrite. This is so you don't lose any files if you have the camera set up to reset the file names every time you format your SD cards. Then click OK. Next, with user info settings, this is where you'll put in that username and password from the app. Mine was FTP123 and FTP123. Then click OK, and then click OK again. Next, make sure the server you set is selected with the orange mark next to it, and click on OK at the bottom. Next, you want to switch back to page 1 in FTP transfer function in your camera, select FTP transfer function, and I'll click that on. If it doesn't connect, you need to either get closer to the router or on your phone, close and open the app again. This sometimes helps. Or the other way to do it is to switch the FTP function off and on again. I found that doing one or more of these things normally gets it to look for that lost connection, and if you're in range of that Wi-Fi signal, it will end up connecting. When it connects successfully, it will say connected in this gray square at the bottom, and it will tell you the server and the Wi-Fi it's connected to. Now, when you come out to your main display, the Wi-Fi logo will be white and the FTP logo will be white as well. If you lose Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi logo will gray out, and if you lose the FTP connection, the FTP logo will flash. Also, with that FTP logo, sometimes it turns orange. This is just a warning, so if it is orange or if it's flashing, just check it in the menus on that tab 3, page 1 of 3. When it connects successfully, when you take a photo, it will put an arrow next to the FTP logo showing that it's transferring that image. Once done, the arrow will disappear, and if you go to your previews, it will have a green FTP logo on the images that have been successfully transferred with a green tick next to it. Now, it's dark in my office, so this is basically a black image, but if we look at the FTP folder in the app, it's all there, and you can see the size of the file as well. The RAW file being a lot bigger than that JPEG, but you can see the resolution and you can see the megabyte size of the images. Now, if you shoot a lot of images, this will clog up the system really quickly, especially if you're transferring RAW files. So a better way to transfer RAW files is to manually select the images you want to send. To do this, go to tab 3, page 1 of 3, FTP transfer function, and then in this setting, go to page 3, set automatic transfer to off. Next, go to tab 2, page 8 of 9, and select Playback Custom Key. Then select a button you want to assign to send the images, and then select FTP Transfer 1 image. This will literally send that one image that you're on in your previews page. So I'll assign this to C1, All I have to do now is take a photo as normal, and if I take a good one and I want to back it up, I'll just find that in the previews and then press C1, and it will automatically start to transfer that one image. So you can see for cameras like the A7C that only has one SD card slot, this is a great way to back up your images. Also, if you have a client in the room wanting to see your images as you take them, you can set this up to an iPad or tablet and send over the JPEGs for them to see. Now, if you do this, you just have to make sure you get your settings right in camera, or as close to right as possible, so they don't start criticizing your work before you've even started to edit it. Now, if your phone switches off or comes out of the app, the FTP logo and the arrow will turn orange. This is just a warning telling you that the file isn't sending or the FTP connection has been lost. Like I said earlier, it might also flash if the FTP connection has been lost. I'm not sure exactly what is what and which one is which, but I've noticed that it either goes orange or it either flashes. So if it does any one of these two things, you need to check your FTP connection. I found if this does happen, I sometimes have to turn the FTP transfer setting off and on again in camera to get it start to work again. And if that doesn't work, turn it off and on again in the app settings, or close and open the app again. And if the Wi-Fi drops out, go to Wi-Fi settings and reconnect. So you can see there's quite a few parts that you all need to get working together. If one drops out, you have to refix that. And sometimes, say if the Wi-Fi drops out, then the FTP will disconnect and so on and so forth. So you've just got to check each of these and basically problem solve until you get it working. But once you understand the process, it is quite straightforward and it's not as complicated as it sounds. Now, once it's sent the image, all you do is go into the file you've created in the Files tab at the bottom of the app on your phone. Click on the folder or the directory you've created. In my case, it was A73, and then click on the I next to the image and click on Open In, and then select the app you want to edit it in. Like I've already said, with RAW files, Snapseed won't work. So if you are bringing across RAW files, then you will need Lightroom or Darkroom if you don't have the Adobe account. This second way is the way that I prefer. It really does help if you want to quickly back up your images or have a copy on your phone to share to your social media accounts. I'll do this on my Android phone, but it's pretty much the same as the first way that I showed you. The only thing that's different is connecting to your personal hotspot on your phone instead of the Wi-Fi in your area. This means that you can then walk around because your phone is creating the Wi-Fi network to transfer that data across. So if you do have an iPhone but you want to do it this way, just use the Browse and File Manager app, which I've already shown you, and then connect up with your personal hotspot like I'm just about to show you. For Android phones, first of all, download the Wi-Fi FTP server app. And if you want to edit your RAW files, download Lightroom or Darkroom. And also, if you know any other good RAW editing apps for your phone, be it Android or iPhone, let me know in the comments below. It'll be great to hear of some other apps that work really well with those RAW files. Now, this Android app does allow both RAW and JPEG images to be sent across. So, like before, you can decide which files you are going to send across. Turn on your hotspot in the settings menu of your phone and make a note of the Wi-Fi name and password that you've set in this setting. Open the Wi-Fi FTP server app and click on Settings. Make sure anonymous access is unchecked. The camera doesn't allow anonymous access, so this has to be switched off. In User ID, set a username and password. Again, like in that first example, I'll set it to FTP123 for both, but make sure you use something a little bit more secure. Next, click Start. This will give you all of the info you need to set up your camera. With your camera in the menus, go to tab 3, page 1 of 3, and click on FTP transfer function. Again, scroll to the right to page 3 and decide what you want to transfer to your phone, RAW, JPEG, or both. I've set it to JPEG and I've set auto transfer on. With this function, I found that if I have auto transfer set to on, it will transfer them with the phone locked and it'll keep transferring them. But if I have it set to only send them when I tell it to with that C1 button, this didn't work so well. And it would send one or two across, but then it would stop sending, say, the third or fourth image. So I'd have to open up the phone and open up the app again. This is what I mean by the technology being a bit clunky and a bit awkward in its first stages. It'd be great if the connection just stayed there and you could just send them across when you want to, but sometimes it does drop out, and that's when you have to just open your phone, open the app, and then send them across. But if you do have that auto send function on, it will carry on sending them to a phone that's locked. Well, with an Android phone anyway. Next, in your menus, in tab 3, page 1 of 3, FTP transfer function, go to the server setting. This time I'll set it to server 2, as the iPhone connection I just made is on server 1. I'll change the name to HOTSPOT, and this can pretty much be anything. Then with the destination settings, this is the IP address in that Wi-Fi FTP app. Like before is all of the numbers after the 2 slashes and before the colon. Mine for this is 192.168.43.1, but yours will probably be different. The port is the number after the colon. Mine is 2221, but again, yours might be different. Next, with directory settings, I just set this to A73 again. And then I set the same file name to does not overwrite. Then with the user info settings, this is the user and password in the app that I set to FTP123 for both. Then click OK, and then click OK again. Make sure the server you just filled in is selected with the orange dot next to it, and then click OK at the bottom. Next, go to tab 3, page 2 of 3, and select Wi-Fi settings. Click on Access Point Set. It will search again for the Wi-Fi. Find your hotspot name. Mine is set to Pretty Fly for a Wi-Fi. Then put in your password for this hotspot Wi-Fi. I then leave IP address setting to auto and priority connection on. This is so it will prioritize this over other Wi-Fi networks. This is good where there are a lot of other Wi-Fi signals in the place that you're going to be at. Click OK, and once registered, click OK again. Now in your display or EVF, you should have a white Wi-Fi and a white FTP logo. Like before, when you take a photo, an arrow will appear in between these two logos, and when it's transferred, the arrow will disappear. If you look at the image in the preview display, it will have a green FTP logo and a tick next to it to show it has transferred. Now, if it doesn't transfer, this logo in this preview will be orange again. So whenever that FTP logo is flashing or it's orange, this means something has gone wrong. This means you need to check and problem solve that connection. If I now go back into my phone, the image is there in the gallery waiting to be edited and shared. And this is the full resolution image of 6000 by 4000 from my A7 III, not that little preview file that comes through with the Sony Imaging Edge app. Now, if you are shooting like this and you are walking about, you do need to make sure you have your phone connected to a battery pack, as that hotspot will drain the battery a lot quicker than normal. Now with Jpegs and my Huawei P30 Pro hotspot, it took around about 4 to 6 seconds to send across around about a 7 megabyte image, whereas with the raw file of 48 megabytes, it took around about 15 to 20 seconds. And this is why you don't want to clog up your phone or device if you take thousands and thousands of images. For instance, to transfer 1000 raw files at that speed, it would take around about 5.5 hours. So if you shoot in burst mode, make sure not to send everything. Now, once you have all of this set up and you have your camera set to priority on for that hotspot, it connects really quickly. And I'll show you now how quickly it connects. I've got my A7 III and it is turned off at the moment, so there's nothing there. The Wi-Fi is off, that FTP function is turned off as well. And I've got my phone, I'm just recording the screen so you can see what's going on my phone. I'm going to go into settings and mobile network, personal hotspot. I'll turn the personal hotspot on, so that's on now. And then I'll come out of that, and then I'll go across to the Wi-Fi FTP server. I'll click start on that, and I'll leave that there. Next, I'll turn on my camera, then I'll go straight into the menus to that FTP transfer function, and I'll click that on. So it is connected. So that is how quick it connects when you do have it all set up. That initial setup takes a while to get your head around. Hopefully I've talked through it and explained it properly, but when it is connected, that's when you can really quickly send a photo across. So I'll quickly take a photo of my screen, And as you can see, there's that little arrow between the Wi-Fi logo and FTP. That should disappear. There, it's sent across. And now if I go to my phone's gallery, look at the gallery, there is that picture. And that is, look at the information, 6,000 by 4,000, that's a 9 megabyte image. So you can see once it's set up, it really is a quick and easy way to send images across. I also went for a walk with the FTP setting on auto and JPEG only, so everything got transferred as JPEGs. I had my phone in my pocket, and whenever I checked my phone, the images were there, ready and waiting. The only time it did slow down and I had to wait was when I was shooting in burst mode. So say I was doing some panning shots, this is when it took a little bit longer. Now this is fantastic if you're out and about and shooting and want to share photos to social media. Maybe you're photographing an event where they want you to upload those photos straight away onto their social media accounts, or you just want to send out images that you're taking as you're taking them. This is a fantastic way to do this. And with sports, you just keep it on manual, and if you get a gap in the action or you have a break, then you can just share them then. I've just showed you how quickly it will connect when you do have everything set up. Now, one thing I found was if I had my phone in my pocket, what I had to do before I locked the screen was have the app open and leave the app open and then lock it. Then it kept that link, and with the auto function on the camera, it just carried on sending those images across as I took them. This was the only way I could get it to work and to carry on working as I was shooting. So if you're walking about, maybe doing street photography, or you're up in the mountains and transferring them to your phone and you do have a signal, you can take them quickly and get them uploaded to your social media almost within minutes of taking them. After going out with this, I was surprised at how easy it was to use, especially with that little bit of hassle I had in trying to set it up to start with. But I've basically ironed out as many of the problems I found and I had with it to make it as straightforward as possible. But it really is worth going through this video, going through it step by step and setting it up. You might have to slow the video down, you might have to pause it, you might have to watch bits again, but it is worth going through it and getting it set up properly, because as I showed you, once you have it set up, it's as easy as switching on your hotspot, opening the app and pressing start, and then turning on that FTP function, and it connects, and then you're taking photos and it's sending them straight across. Now, have you had a chance to use this function yet? Did you struggle with the setup, or did you find it quite straightforward? Or if you didn't struggle with it and you found an easier way of setting it up, let me know in the comments below. It'll be great to hear how you got on with this FTP function. Now, if you like this video, click here next. Or if you'd like to binge watch a load of my tutorials, click down here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for weekly tutorials and videos in photography. I'll see you next time.